Hello everyone, welcome to the CSS part of the web dev journey. If you haven't checked my first video where I explained about how HTML works, HTML structure, and what HTML actually means, I will give that link in the description and in the card as well. If you haven't seen that video yet and you're brand new to web development, which I figure you are because you are watching my video, you watch the HTML first and then come back to the CSS. But if you're already familiar with HTML, then by no means welcome to this video. So what is CSS? Let's dive into it. Okay, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Okay, CSS describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on screen, paper, or in other media. External style sheets are stored in CSS files. So just like HTML, index HTML file, the extension, we also have an extension called CSS that we'll be creating later. Okay, so you know about what HTML is. HTML is basically the structure of the web page, and it looks kind of like this. Okay, so we have like a H1 here, a paragraph here, and then a list here, an ordered list, and you can see some of the links right here. So just by itself, HTML looks like this. Okay, now we can make this to this using style sheet, using CSS. Okay, so when we created a H1 paragraph or add image to our HTML page, it didn't really look like much, right? It looked like this, but this is what CSS does, is actually gives styles, the looks to the to your web page. Okay, this is just the CSS syntax. We are going to learn a one by one. So just to give you like an overview of it, we are going to have something called a selector. So the element that we want to style with. So in this case, the selector is H1. So we want to style the H1, and then we will be opening a curly braces. And then there we will have a property value. Okay, that's the declaration. We will have the property. So what I want to change with this H1, I want to change color, and what color I want to change it to is going to be the value, which is blue, and then semicolon to add to end this property value combination. Then we can add another combination of property value which will relate to some other style aspects of H1, which is in this case a font size. That's a property, and then colon, and then we'll do 12 pixel, like how big we want our H1 to be, and then semicolon to end it. Okay, so here is just explanation of it. The selector points to the HTML element you want to style. The declaration block contains one or more declarations separated by semicolons. Each declaration includes a CSS property name, which is this, in this case, color, and a value, which is blue, separated by a colon. Okay, multiple CSS declaration are separated with semicolon, and declaration blocks are surrounded by a curly braces. We're going to learn more about this one in the next. And side by side, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you can actually see. So here's what's happening in terms of just pure HTML. So I have started my structure with angle bracket exclamation doc type and then space HTML angle bracket, and then HTML element right here. Again, if you don't know what I'm talking about this one, please refer to my first video where you can see what this all about, all about HTML. But if you are comfortable, then this this should make sense. And then we open up an HTML element, and within the HTML element we will have our head and we will have our body. That's what we have. That's our boilerplate. Here I am going to be deleting all this. We will create that later. Also this. We will just have, right now I only have a title CSS3 tutorial title, which I can see over here on the tab. Okay, then this is the end of the head, and in between the body tag we have a div. Okay, we open up a div class. All right, and in this div we have an H1, and that H1 is the brand. We have the brand here, and then after the brand we have a paragraph tag. Excuse me, and this is the paragraph, and then we have an excuse me, unordered list, which have just 3 lists. Okay, home, about, and contact. All right, you can see it like this here. And then this is the end of our div, okay, the first div right here. Then we opened up another div, and I call this, I gave this an ID, and we will explain what this ID means. But in terms of HTML, in this particular div, I have another div which had an H3, which call inner div. Okay, so this section right here will make sense when we are actually going to talk about CSS style. Okay, all right, so this is the structure. So there are 3 ways we can add CSS to our HTML. Okay, so before that, I want to tell you about how you can comment. Okay, comment on HTML. Okay, comment on HTML. Now I just wrote something here, right? Comment on HTML. Now if I go ahead and save and then refresh, you can see that it appears on the browser. Okay, comment on HTML, it appears, it renders, the browser renders the view. Okay, so what if I don't want the comment to show it on my web page? Okay, what if I want something to just for me, like a to-do list or a mark that I just want it for me for my future development? Okay, so how can I do this? How can I tell the browser that, hey, do not render this? Because at this moment, whatever I write, if I save this and then refresh, is going to show up on my web page. So what if I don't want this? So there is a way to call a comment tag, or how you can comment on HTML. So this is how it works. You're gonna angle bracket, exclamation mark, and then dash dash. Okay, this is the first tag. Okay, you don't have to close this, and then you will do a space, or you will put your content in here. Let's say this is a comment. Okay, and you're gonna end this comment because I want only this part to not render on the web page. So I'm going to here dash dash and closing angle bracket. Now if I save this and refresh my web page here, you see now this is a comment is not rendering, because the browser actually knows as long as any content is between these 2 tags right here, the comment tags, it will not render. Okay, now this is actually works with everything else. So let's see, let's take this off and let's just cut this here. And if I put it just above the first div, okay, so in the beginning of the body here, so after the body we have the comment tag, start of the comment tag, and everything else here, and then this one I will put here. Okay, so at this moment within this comment tag I have everything here. Okay, all the divs are right here. So what if I save this and I refresh this, and you can see nothing is actually rendering, or nothing is actually showing on your web page? That's because these are all right now are being used as a comment. Okay, because we have inserted all this into this comment tag. Okay, so that's how you comment on HTML. I'm going to take this off right now, and then I'm going to save this, refresh this, and you can see it's all back. Okay, so that's how you comment. Now let's talk about, I'm going to go ahead and this, and I'm going to do a comment. I'm going to say inline style. Okay, save. How are you? There are 3 ways, like I said, you can add CSS to your HTML. The first one being inline. Okay, inline style. So what inline style basically means is that right now I have this brand. Okay, this is the brand and it is an H1. All right, so HTML actually gives us an attribute called style, and as you know, this is how we write attributes. I'm going to say style. Okay, then equal, and I'm going to open up a quotation, and in this quotation I'll be putting the style property and value that we talked about. Okay, so style first, we're going to add the attribute to the element itself. So this is an inline style. I'm directly putting the styles on the H1. So H1 and then space, I'm going to say style, that's the attribute, equals open the quotation, and in here I'm going to say, let's say I want to change the color of the brand. Okay, so let's say I'm going to do the color, that's going to be the property, and then colon, now it's time for the value, which I want it to be blue. Okay, and then I'm going to do semicolon, and that will end this property value combination. Now if I save this and refresh, you can see now my brand is a color blue. What if I want to change it to red? I can simply go ahead here and change this blue to red, save it, refresh, and you can see now it's red. Okay, now what if I want to change the brand to uppercase? Now you can see that this is currently now in lowercase. Now I can do that using style CSS as well. So here after the semicolon, I'm going to press space, and I'm going to add another property value. Okay, now this time this property value is going to call text dash transform. Okay, now whenever there's multiple words, more than one word, you are going to join those words using a dash in CSS. Okay, the color is just one word, so no dash involved, but text transform is two words, so that's why you're gonna put text dash and then transform, and then colon. Now this time for the value. Now what I want to change with this one, I want to make this an uppercase. Okay, and then I'm going to do semicolon to end this. I'm going to save, so file, save, and then here refresh, and you can see the brand is now uppercase. Okay, now this is completely done through CSS without any HTML. Okay, so this is how you are going to add inline style. So you can actually add another one. Let's see, I believe we can do like a text decoration here, and then I can see underline. Let's see if that works, and semicolon. I'm gonna save this, refresh, let's see, text decoration, I spelled it, now save, refresh. Okay, there we go. Now you can see that this is also underlined as well. Now you can see there's a problem with inline style. You can see now how convoluted your H1 is. Okay, just to make this uppercase and a color change and an underline, you can see there are tons of style property and values we have to add it to this simple H1 tag. So what if you have hundreds of elements in your page? Okay, that would make, and with inline style, your HTML page will be really convoluted, really complex. Okay, it's going to be really hard for you to debug something or maybe come later and change one piece, because you have to literally look for the style that you put. Okay, so this is just not from a readability perspective, it's just not good. Okay, so that's why we don't use inline style as much. You can use inline style if you just want to change a style. You know that this is the only element you're gonna change the style to. You can use this. You have that definitely option, but this is not the preferred way to include CSS in your HTML. Okay, now because of simply is just your separation of concern is just not there. It's just going to make your whole HTML page look very complex. Okay, so let's talk about the second option where it actually does solve this problem. Okay, the second option is I'm going to go ahead and delete all this style from here, make it look simple. Okay, now we're going to talk about number 2, which is going to be using style elements or style tag. Okay, now HTML also provide us with a style tag or style element where we can actually add, just like our head element and a body element, we can also in between head and body add another tag that will be style. Okay. Like so. And in this style element, we can put all of the property values, selectors, and everything in this tag. So there is a separation. So when you open up your HTML structure or HTML page, you can see here's your head, okay? Here's your styles, and here is the body that represent all of your website. Okay, now some prefers to include the style tag inside the head, but I prefer it separate. Doesn't really make any difference. So I have my head, and then I have my style element, and then I have body. Okay, for the style, now here's come the selector. Okay, so in the inline style, we actually were putting the styles directly in the H1 element. Okay, now here we don't have any H1 element, so we have to specify it. It's because this is the brand I want to change, right? So I'm gonna say first the selector. Okay, so H1. All right, then I'm going to open a curly brace. Okay, and within this curly brace, just for readability purpose, I'm going to put this on a new line, and I'm going to put all the property and value within these curly braces. Okay, so the first thing, like we saw in our PowerPoint here, the syntax is the selector H1 and then open a curly brace, and within this curly brace we are going to add the declaration, okay, with the property and value. Okay, so that's exactly what we're gonna do. H1, open up curly braces, and the first thing we're gonna do color, and then there's no quotation needed because quotation is only needed within when you're dealing with attributes. Okay, so H1 curly braces color, and then let's do the same thing, blue first, semicolon to end the property value right here, and then I'm gonna save, refresh, and you can see that the brand is now blue. Okay, I'm gonna do add another one, and I'm gonna put all my property value in its own line, in its new line for readability purpose, and I'm gonna do the same thing, text transform, and that's gonna be uppercase and semicolon to end this property value. So we have text transform uppercase, the same thing that we did with the inline. Save, refresh, and you can see that it changed now to uppercase. Okay, we can also do the same thing. You can change the blue to red, save it and refresh, and it changed to red. So this is what using the second way of adding CSS to your HTML. Okay, now this one does solve the problem. It is now within an on its own elements. All the styles are separated from your actual web structure HTML. Okay, now there is a third way. If you do want to take this up a notch, and that's basically the professional way of doing things, is just having its own page of style, just like your HTML extension. CSS also gives us another extension called .css, and I can actually create another page of style, because styles oftentimes is going to be a lot, especially if you want to do anything with front-end development, and you want to do design on your website, or you have a design background, then you will be spending most of your time on CSS, and CSS is a lot complex and is a vast discipline. Okay, so for that reason, style professionals use separate style sheet for their styles. And that's what we're going to do is we're going to totally take this style. Okay, I'm going to delete this, and we're going to introduce you to a style sheet, separate style sheet page. Okay, we're going to go back to 0. All right, so what we're going to do, one thing to remember is, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. In the same folder, I'm going to have, with my index, I'm also going to create another text file, text document. I'm going to call this style sheet, because that's what it is, and then I'm going to change the txt extension to CSS, and if I enter it, it's going to say, are you sure you want to change it? Yes, I want. And you see that now it has changed its logo. Now it doesn't take a browser logo because it's not a browser, it's not an HTML5 extension, but this is the file that we are going to now link with our index so that they can talk to each other and then apply the styles to the element. Okay, so this is how we are going to do it. We have our HTML, we have our page. Okay, now we are also going to open this style sheet right here, open with Notepad, and you see right now it is all empty. Okay, the first thing what we have to do is we have to, in the head tag, we have to connect the style sheet, this style sheet here, so that it can actually work. So what I'm going to do here in the style sheet first, I'm going to, now since it's not element, style element, or anything like that, I've already created a CSS folder. I don't have to mention style in anywhere. I can directly put the selector, which is going to be in H1, which is this one, right? H1, open up curly braces. And then within this curly braces, I can change the color. Okay, so I'm going to say color blue, and then I'm going to say text transform uppercase. Okay, and I'm going to save this. All right, and you refresh it, nothing's happening because we have not connected our style sheet to our HTML. HTML right now don't know this file even exists. Okay, so this is how we're going to do it. We are going to add something called a link element. Okay, link element is just for that purpose, just linking other style sheet. Okay, link, and I am going to put href, that same thing as like an anchor tag, so it's like a hyperlinks, a reference point equals, that's an attributes, so href equals and then quotation, and here I'm going to put the name. I'm going to say name, and since it is stylesheet.css is in the same folder, it's going to connect it. Okay, so I'm going to put the name here, stylesheet.css, which is the name here, stylesheet.css. And another attribute is going to be relevance, like what's the name, what is this basically. I'm going to say it's a style sheet. Okay, and then I am going to close this. Close this. This doesn't need a closing element or closing tag. It's self-closing, and that's how we're gonna close this. Let's see if that works. Okay, if I save this now, all right, and I've saved this now, and if I refresh this, you can see that immediately the styles are applied. So this is the proper way. This is the ideal way to include your CSS to your HTML by linking this a separate style sheet page and then putting all of your styles in that style sheet to change. Now, you can see you can do anything, like you can actually change. Another property will be like font size. You can actually change the font size to, let's say, in fact, let's do the other thing. Let's do the text decoration. Okay, and then just do underline and see if that works, and it absolutely works. Okay, so there you go. 3 ways you can add your CSS to your HTML page. I am going to make another video. This is going to be a part 1. CSS is a little bit complex, so I'm going to make it a series of its own. So this is just how you add your CSS. The next video is actually going to be, we are going to be using a professional editor, which is Visual Studio Code editor. So if you want to check that video out, it will come soon. And but for today, that's all you need to know. You can actually go to W3 Schools, search CSS, and just play with all the property values that's available there. You can put text transform, text decoration, color, font size, font family. You can do a lot. So I want you to go and check that out for yourself in W3 Schools, or just search CSS property in Google, and you will see a lot of reference and a lot of things you can learn about it. Okay, so for today's video, this is the end, and I will come back soon with the part 2. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next.